Did you really just burp in my face? I mean, is it even a video of when he doesn't come over and walk back and forth in front of me and burp or fart or something nasty? Gosh, you're pretty. Hi kids, welcome back to another pizza party. I'm Mrs. Pizza, this is Weenie, and cheese is in the cheese spot, always in the cheese spot. And we are here today to talk about some books because we are going to talk about some releases that are coming out in August. I like to do this when it's either these books have just come out or they're about to come out so that you can get your grubby little paws on them really, really soon. So let's talk about some books that are coming out in August. The first book we're going to talk about is going to be A Sorceress Comes to Call, and this is by T. Kingfisher. This comes out on August 6th and is the newest fantasy release from this author. I really enjoy T. Kingfisher books, and I really like their fantasy books because they tend to be dark-ish fairy tale reimaginings. They tend to have the same atmosphere and feel to them that old school fairy tales used to, where Cinderella's sisters had to cut their feet off to fit them in the shoes kind of vibe. This author also tends to put the character in the main character position that wouldn't necessarily be the traditional choice for the main character. And so I am really interested to pick this up because this is a reimagining of the Goose Girl. In this story, we have Cordelia, who is the daughter of a sorceress, and her mother sounds like she is a very beautiful and very cold character. Cordelia is lonely and is forced to do very strange things by her mother, like sit still for hours on end. When one day Cordelia and her mother flee where they are from and end up at the estate of the squire, I believe is how he's referred to, and his sister. And the sorceress sets her eyes on marrying the squire, which this is probably not going to go too well for the squire. The squire's sister, Hester, sounds like she's the intelligent one. She starts to realize quickly that the sorceress might not be that great of a person based on how Cordelia tends to shrink away from her and acts very strangely. And so Hester and Cordelia, I believe, are going to set up some sort of tentative alliance to try and save the squire and others from the sorceress. I am really excited about this. I like T. Kingfisher books, and so I am going to be picking this one up very soon. The next book we're going to be talking about is The Phoenix Keeper. This is by S.A. Maclean. This is the story of Alia, and she is just realized a childhood dream by becoming the head zookeeper in charge of phoenixes at this magical zoo full of magical creatures. She has always had a soft spot for this endangered species, and she really, really wants to prove her worth. And so when another zoo, through some tragedy, ends up having to stop their phoenix breeding program, this is Alia's opportunity to prove that her zoo has just what it takes to proceed with the phoenix breeding program. Although this is going to take a lot of work on her part. And so we have her trying her best to gather resources and make this work. She also has to enlist the help of another zookeeper who runs the extremely popular Griffin exhibit at her zoo and just happens to be her college rival, who is also infuriatingly attractive. This is full of magical creatures in a zoo, cozy. It sounds like cozy fantasy, but make it cozy zoo fantasy, and that sounds magical. That sounds exactly what I want to be reading. The next book we're going to talk about is Key Lime Sky, and this is by Hess and will be coming out on August 13th. This is a cozy alien invasion story. That's why it caught my attention. This is the story of Denver, and they are a non-binary pie enthusiast. They run some sort of blog social media account where they like to eat pie. And one day, when driving back to their small hometown, they witness a UFO exploding over, I believe the name of the town is like Muddy Hills or Muddy Gap or Muddy something. It has an adorable small town name. But a UFO explodes over the town. Denver seems to be the only person that witnessed this and is now having strange experiences. Everyone in the town seems to be acting very, very odd, and no one seems to be believing them that they witnessed what they did. So they're now having to enlist people to help them figure out what happened. Did they see a UFO explode? Are there aliens? What's going on with everyone? And the first person that they seem to have as an ally is the super attractive local bartender. This sounds like a cozy small town with a little bit of romance that just happens to have an alien invasion happening. Also, it's called Key Lime Sky, and key lime pies are delicious. I don't know. This sounded adorable. The next book coming out on August 13th is going to be Lady Macbeth, and this is by Ava Reid. You might know Ava Reid read from their wildly popular last year, A Study in Drowning, which was a gothic fairy tale crumbling estate type book. This book that we're talking about is a reimagining of Shakespeare's character, Lady Macbeth, obviously from Macbeth. The point of view is shifting to a young girl who is married off for political reasons to a much older warrior type man and sees herself in a situation where she's trying to reclaim her destiny. This is supposed to be a gothic story with lots of political scheming, some occult things happening in the background, magic, fantasy, and Lady Macbeth when he keeps moving on the air conditioning vent. So if you can hear that, I apologize. This is going to probably be incredibly atmospheric. Ava Reid is really good at gothic vibes. The next book, coming out August 26th, is My Vampire Plus One, and this is by Jenna Levine. This is the second book in a series, the first book being My Roommate is a Vampire, which I read this past year, and it was fine. I will say it is more safe for general consumption paranormal romance, if that makes sense. It's the kind of romance that you could recommend to your friends at work, and they're not going to look at you crazy when they get back after having reading some of the spicy scenes or something like that. Safe for the general public. Paranormal romance. It's kind of like grocery store romance, which is a genre I understand the meaning of. And I'm sure if you've ever read a grocery store romance, you know what I'm talking about. But this is the second book in that series. And this is following Amelia. And she has a predicament. See, everyone just is all up in her business. And she is so tired of everyone questioning what is going on in her romance life. She's so tired of everybody wanting to know why she's single, who she's seeing, what's going on. And so she decides to shut everybody up by inviting the most awful person she can think of to a big family event. She thinks that she'll invite this person, they'll put on a complete horrible show, and everyone will shut their mouths for a little while. So she finds the perfect person to do this with, and that is Reginald. He is infuriating, he's rude, he's loud, and he's also kind of incredibly handsome. She invites him to this event, and it goes according to plan. He is absolutely horrendous, and when they're leaving, she proceeds to invite him to keep up this ruse for the rest of the summer because it just went way too well. And that's when he lets it slip that he's a vampire. So she's now fake dating a vampire in order to shut everybody up. So of course, I'm sure they're going to fall in love because this is a romance book. Reginald is present in the first book and is a fun character, and so I have a feeling this is going to be very, very silly. I wanted What We Do in the Shadows, the book version from the first book, and didn't get it, but I have a feeling this might be a little bit more up that alley, and so I'm probably going to give it another go. The last book on this list is Long Live Evil, and this is the first book in a new series by Sarah Rees Brennan. This is the Time of Iron series, I believe is what it's called, but this is a debut book from this author, and this is the story of Ray. And Ray is terminal. She doesn't have long to live, and so she makes a magical bargain where she gets to enter the world of her favorite book series. Books have been very important in her life, and this is her one true wish. So when she wakes up in this fantasy world that she spent a lot of time reading about, she is in a castle in this magical fantasy situation and quickly realizes she's not a hero. She's been plopped into a villain position. And so now she has got to learn to survive. She's not too upset about this because, villains usually get the best outfits and some of the best one-liners, but she now has to band all of the villains together so that they can survive this good guy. She's trying to give all these villains a chance. This sounds like it's going to be silly and playing with stereotypes and just really hamming it up. There's a little bit of romance in this, but this is the one where we're following the villain around. The villain is the main character of our story, and the villain's just trying to survive. This sounds super funny and silly, and I'm here for it. That, kids, is some books that came out or are coming out in August. They were on my radar, so now they're on yours. I hope you found something to add to your TBR. I hope I hurt your TBR just a little bit. If you had fun hanging out with me and the dogs, please subscribe. I hope you're reading good books out there wherever you are, and I'd love to hear about them. And I'll see you next time.